We have Rachel with us today, who is an amazing lady. She does lots of different things, lots of stuff with music, and she has a real heart and passion for other people to help other people, especially those who are vulnerable. But yeah, Rachel, thanks for joining me. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are?
I'm Rachel. I am a mum of two little toddlers and a wife, and I am a musician. I write songs, I teach singing, I judge a lot of vocal competitions and things, did a bit on TV and that kind of thing. And I work a lot with maternal mental health in particular, as I had postnatal depression after my children were born. So I do a lot of work in that area. And I also write worship songs with our mutual friend, Luke, who is amazing. And our album came out the other week and it's just gone kind of crazy, which is lovely actually, in such an odd time that we're in now. It's really lovely.
Going straight into a bit that you were saying about, supporting those with mental health. I know you did some work particularly with women who have postnatal depression and music. Could you just tell us a little bit about that? Because it was a really exciting project.
Yeah, sure. So when I had my daughter, I had really, really bad postnatal depression after her birth for quite a long time actually, and I didn't tell anyone because I was really ashamed. I thought, I should be able to handle this. Why can't I just push through and just manage? And I really struggled. And I was filming a TV show at the time and releasing an album, lots of things. And so everyone was going, "Oh my gosh, you've got it all! You're doing it all!" And I just go, yeah, knowing deep down that I was a complete mess and a bit of a fraud, really. I wasn't being honest about how I was feeling. I was really struggling and just like painting a brave face on. And I eventually, about sort of 6 months after, admitted that there was a problem. And then not long after that, we fell pregnant with our second child, Elias, who was born in October 2018. So he's 18 months next week. And again, I had postnatal depression, but this time I was like, right, I'm going to actually deal with this. So I went to the doctors, got some help, and I finally actually admitted it to people. The only people who knew before then were my husband and my very close friends. No one else knew at all. So I put it out on social media. Not that I've got lots of fans or anything, but lots of people seem to follow me and the things I do. And I just felt like I was being really dishonest, particularly to mums who maybe were struggling, and they looked at me and thought, oh, well, she's able to film a TV show and look normal and not be crying all the time. And I thought, no, actually, I am the person crying all the time and scared of everything. And so I just admitted it, and they had this influx of messages from people just saying, oh my goodness, I felt the same way, and thank you for being so honest. And one of the only things that really helped me before I actually got proper help was I would write lyrics down and songs and try and process my thoughts and feelings in that way, because I'm a songwriter. That's kind of how my brain works. And so people then started saying to me, well, could you maybe do a song with me? But could that help me kind of process my feelings of my postnatal depression, my anxiety? And I said, yeah, sure, okay, we'll do that. Well, I'm not a health professional, but we can chat because we've both been there. We can talk about it. And that ended up morphing into me going to lead groups of women, these amazing women who are there with their gorgeous children, who have been really struggling in through really dark times with postnatal depression and psychosis and anxiety and lots and lots of issues. And if I hadn't had it, I couldn't possibly go to a group like that and say, tell me your feelings, because they'll just be like, well, you don't understand. But because I did understand, they would be so open and talk about quite dark feelings and how they felt and how sometimes they struggled to bond with their child. I was lucky that didn't happen for me. I was absolutely fine with both the children, but I know some people really struggle. And they were so open, so amazing and courageous. And so we end up kind of talking through all these things and then writing a set of lyrics together, which becomes I think people have referred to it as their anthem for wellness. Cool. which is quite, I was like, oh, that's nice, wish I thought of that. And when I give them the lyrics and they frame them, put them on their wall, or we do the music for it as well sometimes if they want to. And it's because music, there's been a lot of studies into how music, particularly doing music together, can aid mental health healing more than a lot of other things, and particularly for maternal mental health. Music creates endorphins anyway, and being together and singing together and bonding over shared experiences in a safe environment can be really healing. So there was the kind of science to back it up. I was like, oh, okay, it's not just my crazy brain thinking this might work. And it really does seem to have helped people, which I just feel so honoured to have been a small part of that. And it's so wonderful that God's put me in that position to be able to do it. It's been one of the greatest joys of my life, actually, being able to support other people, and hopefully they won't go through things in such a lonely way as I did.
It really showed how, that God never promised us to be kind of free of these things as Christians, but actually what he does promise is there's a hope, and that he'll bring, draw gold out of it, and that he'll make things work together for good. And that there's just an amazing story of that, of how, in the middle of your kind of struggles with mental health, that actually there was this amazing gold that God was drawing out of it. So it's amazing, so inspiring. And you ended up getting an award for the work you did. Is that
really,
right?
Yeah, it's really what's really strange is I wanted to set this up and I didn't have any money for it because I'd just come out of maternity leave, so you don't use nothing because I'm self-employed. And I thought, okay, well, I need to set up a website, I need to buy resources, I need to do various things, and we don't have the money for that. But I really felt like God was saying, do it, and if you build it, they will come, do it and I will provide. And I was like, well, okay then. So I commissioned my brother-in-law, actually, who was then a web designer. I was like, right, I'll have to find money to pay him. And then the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, I still can't believe it, is around that time I'd got through to the finals of Freelancer of the Year. And I never thought I was going to win because, I'm a musician and I'm a bit silly and why would they ever pick me? It was an astronomer in the finals as well. And lo and behold, I won it. And you win $5,000. Yeah. And I was like, I did not in a million, I still cannot believe that it happened. I still, whenever they interview me about it, I'm like, I still can't believe it happened. It's like this surreal experience. I just look like a kind of guppy. I'm like, oh. As I went up on stage, and all the pictures are really embarrassing because I just couldn't believe it. And so I was able to use some of that money to buy the resources, the Lyrical Light. And it was like God saying, there you go. Yeah. And so in my speech, I was able to talk about Lyrical Light and say, this is what I'm going to do with my prize money. And so that gave it a nice little foothold to start with. Yeah. And then, I won a prize recently. It's a WOW Awards, Women in Business, on Women on Wednesday, Women in Business Awards. So it's Jacqueline Gold, who is a businesswoman in the UK. She does this every week. You can kind of put yourself forward and say what you do. And she just seemed to love what I did at Lyrical Light. And and that was really nice for someone who's such a competent, amazing businesswoman to think that I was doing a good job was amazing. And charities have got on board, like Pandas, one of my favourite maternal mental health charities, are amazing, and I love working with them. And loads of mental health magazines and magazines for mums, and it just snowballed. It was just mad. I just thought, my goodness, how is this all like exploded out in it's one of those things that it seems like me having to be honest and be imperfect, like admit that I was not perfect, it seemed to kind of release so much stuff. And God was like, there you go, I can do things with you now because you're being real. And it's that realness where God, the humanity, the humanness of us, the brokenness of us, where God's able to get in and do wonderful things.
That's so good, because he equips the cool, not calls the equipped, and we've just got to give him that moment of vulnerability and openness, like you say, for him to come in and do amazing things. So, and again, as you were talking, it's just like we just show a small amount of vulnerability, and it really gives others permission as well. When we try and do things authentically, and like I said, with vulnerability, that God's able to multiply our offering so much, and He's clearly done that with you. You started off by just being vulnerable, and then, like you say, it snowballed into so much more than you could imagine because you had a willing heart for Him to work in that. That's such an awesome story.
Oh, thank you. I just feel it's like written in the Bible where some of the people are like, why would you choose me, God? Why would you choose me? And I always think that. I'm like, come on, there must be better people. There must be people who are better songwriters, or a bit less lazy than me or something. But he uses us all if we want. If we allow him in, he's not going to force his way. He's really gentle, and and it's completely changed my relationship with my close friends, because I'm not putting up walls. They could all tell there was something wrong, but they didn't know what to say, and so when I finally told them, they were like, oh, I knew something was wrong. I knew I just didn't know what to do. And so they all felt really guilty they didn't do anything. I was like, there's nothing you could do. I wouldn't have admitted it anyway. If you'd said, do you have post-natal depression? I'd have said no. So there would have been nothing anyone could do. But this has made me so much more honest with people, and to be able to talk about mental health in a much more open way. And my friends know they can, particularly during this time, it is so weird, and it is affecting people's mental health really badly. And being inside a lot, being either alone in your isolation, which is really hard for people, or being trapped in a house with your family. It's quite hard too sometimes. Not being able to do your work in a normal way, worrying about money. There's so many things.
You was saying about your, the EP, the music, worship songs you've written with Luke, and you've had a great team of people around you to record and to launch EP. Can you tell us a little bit about that? The heart behind it, and the kind of songs and things like that.
Well, that's another weird thing. God did a lot of weird stuff with me last year, and actually you were one of the weird things that happened in a really awesome way. So I'd just stopped doing some of my work. There were a couple of things that I decided that I just felt, I prayed about it. I was like, I think I need to come to an end of doing this. It was a particular choir I was running. It just felt like the right time for me to stop. And everyone kept saying, right, well, don't take on more work. Don't just fill your time. And I was like, right, okay. And I've been feeling for a while that I should go back to writing worship songs. I haven't for years and years and years and years. And so I'd kind of ignored that, because I thought, well, I need to keep this time free for family. And I went to New Wine with my husband and children, and God just seemed to kind of bamboozle me with messages about me going back to doing worship. It was crazy. And then I met you, and then you said, oh yeah, I'm in Bristol too, and I do worship. And I was like, what? It was just crazy. It was just God putting all these little pieces into place. And I thought, all right, I can see what you're doing. I can see what you're doing. And Luke and I had been leading worship at our church together for a while, and we get on really well. And he's brilliant at guitar, and I'm awful at guitar, so I play piano. So we're quite a nice balance. We don't try and do the same thing as each other. And Luke had said for a while, oh, can I come over and have some piano lessons, because I'd really like to learn to play piano. And I was like, yeah, sure. So we booked in, this was like September last year, we booked in for him to come over for a piano lesson. And he said, oh, as he arrived, he went, I've brought my guitar as well, Rach, actually, because I've written a couple of worship songs, and I wondered if you wanted to hear them. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he played them, and they were so amazing. I was like, you have to do something with this. His songs were just so beautiful and so heartfelt, and he really listens to God. It was just this beautiful, honest message, and it was really moving, actually. And he said, well, what do you think? And I was like, they're amazing. And he was like, no, not really. I was like, yeah, no, they are amazing. And he said, well, do you want to work on them with me? I was like, yeah, sure. So I gave a bit of input for a couple of bits. And then I said, I think you should record these. And he was like, ooh. And he's never done that before. And I was like, oh, but I have, it's fine. I can set it all up for you. It's no problem. God's always put these amazing people in my path, whether they're Christian or non-Christian, who just seem to have all the skills that I don't have, which is great because there isn't one person who can do everything, except maybe Lindsay Buckingham or Prince. They can play every instrument and record everything. And I'm definitely not one of those people. I'm really terrible at some things. So we worked on, we came to perform them at your church, which is amazing. And the response was incredible. That's the first time we've ever done them live. And people loved them. We couldn't believe that. We thought people might have not been that bothered at all. Those songs were a bit rubbish, but people seemed to really like them, which was really encouraging. And we recorded them, and they're on these crazy things as well, that it's just taken off. Luke's messaging me most days like, oh, there's a radio station in America who wants to play our songs. I'm like, okay. And then so-and-so wants to do an interview with us, and someone's written a review, and it's just crazy. And then we got to, bizarrely, we got to number 11 with our single, Whisper, in the UK Christian charts. It has to be a God thing, because it's just the way it all happened. It's just crazy. And and it just, that really feels like God drew us together for that. And that he very much led me back to wanting to be part of worship again and write worship songs. And one thing I realised during my songwriting masters is that I much prefer collaborating than writing on my own. I'm okay writing on my own, but I love the kind of the energy of another creative in the room, and tend to have a much better output then, because there are things that I'm good at, but things that they're good at, and then you can kind of bounce off each other. And so working with Luke has been amazing. He's a real joy to work with, because he's so encouraging and so spirit-filled, and such a real child of God. That he's just, he's amazing.
So it's called, so the EP is called Whisper. So what was the inspiration behind that?
We tussled with the idea of the title for the title of the album for quite a while, and Whisper was our kind of favourite song that we learned first to play at church and things. And then we were like, oh, should we call the album Whisper? Oh, maybe not, I don't know. But it's quite there's a couple of kind of bigger tracks on the album, like Shadows, but that one, a lot of them in Hearing Hard, to quite gentle tracks. So it's like God speaking to you through the still small voice. He's there in the quiet, rather than, well, he's there in the storm, he's there all the time, but he'll speak to you in the quietness as well, speak right to your heart. And it was that feeling in Whisper of that really intimate relationship. And sometimes when you're feeling really down or depressed and things, and you can barely do anything, you're just sort of catatonic, and it's like God comes and like fills you in those moments that are so quiet that you can't even make a noise to ask for help. You know, and he's there anyway, and speaks to you in such a loving, quiet way. I wanted to have that very gentle feel, that God being very near you, being your friend. We wanted to look at sort of that aspect of God.
Awesome. And really relevant for now as well, because, you know, as life seems crazy, but actually on the whole it's quieter, you know, and less kind of going on and happening, that actually, you know, it's a really relevant sound and song for now. So it's God's timing's been amazing in that as well. You're such a great encourager of people, and I was just wondering to finish whether you kind of just had a word of encouragement for those who'd be watching this, perhaps those who are struggling during isolation, or you know, struggling with mental health or postnatal depression. If you could leave us with a kind of word of encouragement or thought of encouragement, that'd be amazing.
Even when it's difficult and painful, tell your story, be honest about what's happening to you, what you're going through, because one day your story will become somebody else's survival guide.
Awesome. That's so good.
I
Rachel,
read it somewhere and I was like, that's cool.
it's so good. Rachel, thank you so much for your time today, and for your vulnerability and honesty with part of your story. People are going to be really encouraged and inspired by that, to be honest and vulnerable with those around them as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.